Thank you, lovers of Ras and Banaras. I can never say no when Mohit invites me for a talk, for anything. And I gladly accepted his invitation to be here this evening for many reasons. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be in Delhi. As he briefly indicated, I worked in the UN, and we worked there, that office with the blue curtains on the third floor. That was and still is the ILO's, International Labour Organization's office in Delhi. We were the first to move in here in 94, 95, when the India Habitat Center was just being set up. Bana Banaras. I think that sort of captures the essence of what Mohit is doing. I'm from Kerala, I'm from Kochi, and many will wonder what I would have in common with Kashi, except that I visited it a couple of times many years ago. It used to be a place which is a magnet, as he said, dirty then. I think it's cleaned up now. The commissioner is sitting there. He has been commissioner for the last 2 years there. He says he has got an income of 14 crores and an expenditure bill of 300 crores. I don't know how he manages it, but he does. But as Mohit indicated, the connection of Cochin to Kashi is very, very, very strong. He indicated that. Adi Sankara, in the 8th century, the first of the Sankaracharyas, Sri Shankara, he was from Cochin, a village very close to Cochin. Very generally, he was from a city, in a place called Kaladi, which is about a stone's throw away from the Kochi International Airport. And then he traveled all the way from Cochin. I mean, imagine traveling those days. Even today, it's so difficult to get through the security barriers in airports and travel. But imagine those days covering those 2,500 kilometers across mountains and forests and reaching Kashi. And then he settled down in Kashi. But before he had settled down in Kashi, he had propounded his philosophy for which he is so very well known, the Advaita philosophy. You may all know this. Who am I, a Christian from Kerala, expounding the Advaita philosophy to all of you? Advaita. Dvaita means two, duality. Advaita is the negation of duality. It's no longer two, it's one. And what is this negation of duality? Advaita essentially means that the Jivatma, the mortal beings that we are, and the Paramatma, the Supreme Being, are one. There is nothing dual about them. They are not different. They are one and the same. The Jivatma resides in the Paramatma, and the Paramatma resides in the Jivatma. The concept of God being something different, sitting there and ordering us around or creating us and giving us good fortune or bad fortune, that duality was broken into smithereens by the Advaita philosophy. The Advaita philosophy was Adi Sankara's contribution to our philosophical thinking. And he carried that philosophy with him to Kashi. And as Mohit said, he settled down in Kashi, he spent many years there. But then the full implication of his own philosophy, the Advaita philosophy, was made clear to him, not in Kerala, where he thought of that, but in Kashi. It's an incident which all of you may know, but I'll repeat it. Once Adi Sankara, along with his disciples, were walking along the Ghats, along the Ganges, when an untouchable, a Chandela, came towards them. This untouchable was a very, very erudite scholar, and he knew the Advaita philosophy very well. But then Adi Sankara was a Brahman. And how could an untouchable come anywhere close to a Brahman? So, naturally, Adi Sankara's followers asked him to move out, move out, move out. The untouchable did not move out. He stood his ground. And then he started an argument with Adi Sankara. He told Shankaracharya, he told Sri Shankara, you have propounded this philosophy of Advaita, the non-duality. You say that we reside in God, that you reside in God, and God resides in you, and God resides in every mortal being. And that God therefore resides in me as well. That Supreme Paramatma resides in me. The untouchable, it resides in you, the Brahman. And you reside in the Paramatma and I reside in the Paramatma. If you all reside in the Paramatma together, if you and me are all together, why are you asking me to move out? However much I may move out from your vision, I'm going to be in you, with you, because we are joined in that Paramatma. And that is when I believe Adi Sankara realized the full import of his own philosophy of Advaita. He then realized that his philosophy underlined the oneness of human being, that we are all one. You may be an untouchable, you may be a Brahmin, you may be a Hindu, you may be a Christian, you may be a Sikh, you may be an agnostic, you may not believe in any religions, you may be against religion, but it's the same soul that lives in all of us. And that is when Adi Sankara realized the implications of that philosophy. And in fact, what Mohit is doing is reminding us of that philosophy, that we are all one, whether we are in Kochi or in Delhi, whether we are in Indraprastha or in Benares or in Kashi, we are all one. And that is, therefore, is the essence of what he is trying to bring us all together. Kochi is a beautiful place. I'm saying it not because I come from Cochin, indeed it is. The deputy commissioner from Varanasi, Sri Deepak Agarwal, who is sitting there, just told me he was in Cochin and how beautiful it is. It is a beautiful place. I fell in love with it. I belong there, but I fell in love with it the first time I saw it. I was studying in Chennai those days. When I came there, it's a beautiful place. I was a DM there. I was also mayor of Cochin. We christened it the Queen of the Arabian Sea. I think just as everybody should go to Kashi, not only for dying, but before dying, so should everybody come to Kochi before they die. And the only way we can do it is if Mohit arranges Rasse Bana Banaras in Kochi. And I invite all of you there. It's lovely. It's a beautiful place. It's a great place. You will not ever be disappointed there. Kashi, Benares is an immortal city. I thought Jericho was one of the oldest cities in the world, but I think Benares outdates Jericho. Even it's one of the older. It is perhaps the oldest city in the world, and it's a city that, in a sense, because when we go to Kashi to die, Kashi ke pogam in the Malayalam parnal, I don't know how many of you know Malayalam, but when we say Kashi ke pogam in Malayalam, it means let's go to Kashi, distant there. It's a place where we go to be immortalized. That's a place where the mortal and the immortal meet. That's ultimately the place where the Jivatma in us and the Paramatma in us come together eternally. It's an immortal city, and it's a place where the Ganges flows in with all its spiritual beauty. And of course, I don't have to explain to you about the Kashi Vishwanath temple. I don't have to explain to you about the Manikarnika Ghats. But something that has always fascinated me when I've been there 3 or 4 times, was the Aarti. If there is a festival of lights, it's really not the Diwali. It's the Aarti in Benares. It gives you light, spiritual light. And when I wrote my book, Mohit mentioned about the book I wrote about Cambodia. It's called My Driver Too Long and Other Tall Tales from a Post-Pol Pot Contemporary Cambodia. There's a whole description of the Aarti in the book. And I'm trying to compare it to the setting sun at the Angkor Wat. The Angkor Wat, by the way, is the largest, the biggest, and still is the biggest Hindu temple in the world. It's no longer, it's got no pujas and things going, but still is the largest Hindu temple in the world, and if one day Mohit tries to bring the cities of the world together, I think he should bring Banaras and Simriap, that's where the town is, Angkor Wat is together. So I'm going to, I think I've been allotted 10 minutes, I must have exceeded it. It is a pleasure being here. It's a pleasure to talk about Varanasi in Delhi, Kashi in Delhi, Indraprastha. I only request what I said earlier to Mohit, that please bring your festivals to Kochi. I'm sure Amitabh Kant has promised to be here. Amitabh Kant is from the Kerala Kada. Amitabh Kant is the CEO of Niti Aayog. I don't have to tell you that. And most likely the representative, the resident representative of Kerala in Delhi, Puneet, will also be here. So I think this is a good occasion to organize the next one there. Thank you again for listening to me. Thank you again for patiently hearing me. The immortality of Benares is something, in his own small way, Mohit is trying to bring across to all of us Indians. Thank you so much.